Okay. Since this is very topical, we thought a poll would be a really good way to start. Um, and we've got some folks answering, I guess. So let's take a look at the answers here. Amy, you and I think, can both see these now on the screen.
Hmm.
We've got about two-thirds of the audience saying that that they're going to plan on doing it themselves. Um, a very small percentage, just 2%, looking to have Amazon do it for them. And then a lot of people haven't seen Amazon's drafts of what this would look like. So they don't know necessarily what's going to be. And then a mixed bag of some say it seems good, some bad. So good feel for where we're at right now.
Seems about right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of been the feel as well as I talk to folks in the market. I'm Kevin Weiss, VP of Commerce Media at Skai. I'm joined by the esteemed Amy Pierce. I'm going to have her do an intro in just a slide here. We're thrilled to have you join us. We've got a lot of good content. Appreciate your enduring with us in the first few minutes there while we sorted out our technical issues. In case you're not familiar with Skai, we are the orchestration layer for commerce media. We sit at a really unique position in the market with all of this commerce media and sales operations data flowing into our platform as well. So we're here to provide that point of view, bring together some of the best partners that we work with, including none other than Amy Pierce from DetailPage. Thrilled to have you here. Amy, why don't you say hello, introduce yourself, and a little bit about what DetailPage does.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me. So I'm Amy Pierce. I'm based in beautiful Seattle today, where it is not 100 degrees, and for that I'm thankful. I will be your cruise director for all things detail page today and all things Amazon title and item highlights, which is the content we've got ready for you. At this point, DetailPage serves about 135 active clients across all kinds of categories in terms of in the body, on the body categories, of course, which are very sensitive, all the way through, barbecue grills and camping supplies. So we are very proud to have this great set of clients, and you'll hear more and see more in a few minutes about what we do for content, what we're seeing for titles and item highlights, and we'll give some live examples for those on the call as well. So there are three things that we do here at DetailPage. We work on search, images, and insights. Images and insights we are not going to get to today. We'll talk a lot about search, which is where our written content comes into play. That written content, starting off with your title and your item highlights, is the only place we have to gain in relevancy, organic traffic, index in search algorithms. So we want to make sure we're looking after those titles, item highlights, bullets, and descriptions very carefully. Under our search technology, we are underpinned by some patented tech that is specific to data collection from Amazon. So we go out to Amazon, we collect data on everything that's on your page. We understand what's on the page. We understand what that's giving you in terms of organic traffic. And then based on the patent, we also go out and collect the information on your 22 closest competitive ASINs to the item we're looking at in your catalog. When we do that, we have the ability within our OptiPage platform to measure the delta between what's on your page and the traffic you're receiving and what's not on your page and the traffic you're missing. And you'll see some evidence of that in the live examples we go through today. But that is what's going to help us give you a sense for what's going on in your title now, what could be improved, how we should use that title and item highlights area. And so we'll see that live in a second. So there are a few things going on with this new Amazon title and item highlights change. About 10 or 11 years ago, I think it was, Amazon limited the titles to 200 characters. Everyone had kittens and was very concerned about this. I think this change is a little bit different. We still have our 200 characters. We're just arranging them in a more structured way. So we've still got some space. We just have to be very careful about how we use that space. So this update will absolutely impact your catalog, the structured data in that catalog. It'll provide cleaner titles for shoppers for mobile first discoverability and readability, and it'll provide structured product data for AI. So AI, of course, is not that smart yet. It's getting smarter every day, but the simpler we make those titles and the cleaner and simpler we make those item highlights, the easier it is for all of those AI tools, whether it's Amazon's Cosmo AI or Gemini or ChatGPT or any of them, to understand what our item is, what it does, and how it works, and when people should use it. So catalog will definitely be impacted. We'll talk later too about the Universal Commerce Protocol, or UCP compliance that Amazon has recently gotten on board with over the course of this year. We've seen them make moves to line up more with the Google structure and others. So we'll talk about that. And then at the end, we'll pontificate about what this has to do with advertising and how these changes will actually support your advertising efforts going forward. So specifically, many of you or all of you may have gotten this letter that talks about what the new changes are and how they work. Title length is the biggest thing. This is capped at 75 characters going forward, including spaces. So you may not have as much room as you think. And this area is to be used specifically for a very clean description of what your item is. This is your SEO juice right here. We'll have some more room for SEO potentially in item highlights, but item highlights, which takes up the other 125 characters of those 200 characters that used to be all bundled into your title. The item highlights field is 125 characters, and this is where we need to be thinking about adding in some geo context. So this is the geo context is the generative engine context that all of these AI engines are looking for. And this will be things like the who, what, when, where, why, and how of this item. And this will contribute to the ability for Alexa for shopping and other AI tools to answer questions that shoppers may be putting in as queries, like what is the best thing for a particular situation they're trying to solve with a product, or can you recommend some, things to or products to help me with the situation that I'm working with. So the item highlights are really going to be about making sure we're providing adequate context about the item. There are a few ways we can go about this. This is related to our poll in the beginning. Brands can and I think should proactively update your own content. As with everything that Amazon releases, Amazon acts in the interest of Amazon. So we want to make sure that we're protecting our brand content and information. We can leave it to Amazon, certainly, but we'll take a look at some of the examples that we saw of their rewrites. And then the 14-day review. Brands have 14 days to approve or modify Amazon's automated AI changes. A lot of those are live in your Vendor Central account now. If you haven't looked, you can probably go look for those and see what's going on there. But your 14-day review will begin as soon as you go in and start to work on those. And then we have until the 27th to review and approve to be live before the go live date. You can do those adjustments after as well, but the 27th is the deadline for getting this done.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, good stuff there. And I know there were some questions even like leading up to this from participants. When is the date happening? What are the timelines? So hopefully this tackles some of that. One of the things I just want to interject with, because I'm like a lot of us, right, following like the geo visibility type stuff, like the insights about how share of model, share of prompts, et cetera. I can't think of another like structural change that Amazon has kind of been asking for to adapt to the changing search behavior other than this. I'm not sure if you've seen others because I know you guys are like very close to the pulse on this, but I can't think of anything else more substantial in terms of that, indication to the market like, hey, something's changing here. We really need you to change as well with that and that evolution. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a huge change. It's a material change, and it is all rooted in how we can help AI do those jobs better.
Mhm.
And so if we move forward to that next Yep. So here's an example of how this new layout may look. For this vacuum, you can see the original title up above. That title was trying to do all things. It was trying to include what the item is, what it does, how you use it, why you use it, where you use it, what it's good for. And so I think the new, cleaner, optimized content below does a couple of things. It clearly states what the item is exactly, and then pushes our contextual information about, its features, functions, what it's good for, all those into that item highlight area below. And so this is all about clean, structured data to aid AI in understanding what it is and then what it does separately versus lumping all of that into that one field up top. And so, of course, the title is for our SEO, and the highlights can include SEO as well as that generative engine context or GEO. The other thing that's going on within these updates as well that we've heard, if we can pop down to the next one, Kevin, is that simplifying these title structures is going to help power conversational AI. So we have, oh, Dan, that is indeed what it will look like. It is a mock-up, but it is also what it will look like. So there are a few live, by the way, Dan, in mobile right now. So if you are seeing some of this live in the wild, you'll only see it on mobile right now. Some of you may have seen it. Um, so looking at these titles, simplifying the titles is going to help AI and voice search in Alexa Plus, which is sort of the Alexa on AI, the next generation Alexa. So this short structured title data means that Alexa can read aloud more gracefully to our shoppers who are trying to use AI and voice prompts to be able to shop, to apply discounts, to check out. And you can imagine on some of the current titles, this brawny one is actually a gentle one, but you can imagine reading this out or reading out like I was looking at some examples of fishing shoes the other day. It has the title, it has the size ranges, it has the colors, it has, all of these other use cases, and reading that aloud for Alexa would be problematic. So tidying this up helps us with those voice prompts as well.
Yeah, I think that was harkening back to like the first memories. We had the Echo Show in the kitchen. It's like, let's try shopping for a bit of stuff. And you're like, wow, this is almost comical, the keyword stuffing, like in any given search. So I think calling it out here for at least for me, that was like a memory lane of like, I don't actually shop like this. But yeah, should be
Totally.
a big improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the big question I think for most people is we didn't have much time. We didn't have much notice to figure out how we were going to get this done. And so what do we do about this change that is, what, a week and a half away? There are a few things to think about when you're thinking about how to tackle the title and item highlights. You could certainly do it yourself, and this is something that we recommend doing it yourself or with a trusted partner, because then you are in control of what is being said about your brand, right? You'll choose your product name. This may mean adjusting naming conventions that you've typically used in the past as a brand. So this is definitely a brand book update in process. So adjusting that product name and choosing the SEO you want in your title, that should be something the brand chooses, not something Amazon chooses, because they don't know your brand and they don't know what's important to you or what is a competitive feature or an essential material or something like that, or ingredient that you might want to include in your title. And then you can also choose your GEO context and any other SEO in the item highlights. And I think in all categories, it is terrifying to think of somebody else's AI just deciding what's going to go in your title and your highlights. I think particularly in our in the body, on the body categories, this is a place where brands really can't trust Amazon's AI or anyone's AI to do this independently. In our tools, we certainly use AI, but we absolutely use a human overlay, and we think that's the best way. Let the AI do the math modeling and a bunch of that, data crunching underneath, and then make sure that human eyes go on it before it goes live. So shopper safety, brand safety, and just making sure that we're doing the right thing for the brand. Um, The thing is though, right, Amazon didn't give us a lot of time. So it is an investment in time and or budget, and we don't have much of either one of those things left. So what some of our brands have been doing is deciding, look, on the top 20% of our ASINs that are, our Amazon revenue generators, we're going to go in right now and do this by hand. Everything else we'll let Amazon change over for now and then work through that as we come through summer and approach holiday. But doing it yourself is the one way to make sure that you have it the way that your brand absolutely needs to and wants to see it live. So the Amazon do it for me benefits, if you let Amazon do that for you, it'll definitely get done. They're going to do this whether we want it or not, right? So I think we'll see those changes go live and then we'll see what happens. Some of the things that we've seen in our client vendor central accounts some have been okay, some have been frankly alarming because in the words of a couple of our co-founders, some of the stuff that we see Amazon putting out is sort of AI slop, right? They just pull whatever was there, they stick it down below. It's out of context. It doesn't make sense. So I think there are definitely some risks as to whether or not Amazon is just moving characters around or if really, that AI is accounting for performance for your item. And then we did put this overall watch out down below. So Amazon is policing compliance to their new AI policy and title and highlights using AI. So what could go wrong there? It's hard to say. So let's look at a couple of examples. I mentioned that some of the results that we saw from Amazon's suggestions were pretty rough. This is one that we saw. So we see our item name now, and item highlights, of course, weren't there before, so there's no original data. And then in the Vendor Central, what they're suggesting for item highlights is quad stroller wagon. Now we could do so much better, right? This is a repeat of what's already in the title, so it's not helping. This doesn't provide us with any of our benefits or features of this particular item, no competitive information, no use case information. So this is really sort of like worst case in terms of what we would hope to see from Amazon in terms of suggestions.
And one
We,
thing, Amy, we've had a few kind of questions come in around like, can I see the proposed changes in bulk? Or where do I see this? Or I don't see something that looks like what you're showing on the screen. Could you speak to maybe the vendor central piece? Like, is this going to be kind of in the like the places where somebody would typically update the catalog or view the items? Like, talk us through a little bit about what folks
yeah, so
might
this should be in your Amazon account. This should be in your Vendor Central account. Um, so if you're not seeing it, what I can do before we send this out for everybody after is I'll add a slide in here or two that gives some screenshots of where to find that so that you're not working on an Easter egg hunt inside your Amazon account. So we'll take that in the follow-up to add an image here of how you get to this. All right, so this is that same item, the one we just looked at for the Amazon suggestion, and this is how we would suggest that this item using our own technology in OptiPage, which is our platform, this is how we would suggest helping this client optimize the item. So what we're looking at here is that same item. This is a screenshot of a live page inside our OptiPage platform. The title in that first column on the left is the existing title that's live on Amazon now. You see a blank for the item highlights because, of course, there was no item highlight data to pull. And here's our suggested title and our item highlights below. So on this page, anything that you see that's underlined in orange is contextual or GEO information. So these words are directly contributing to that GEO context, discoverability, and volume. And then anything that you see underlined in blue here, this is SEO. So these are keywords that are relevant and indexing and have traffic and contributing to this item's discoverability on Amazon. So you can see in item highlights, we have added everything. Anything in green is something we are adding. Anything in red, of course, is something that we are trying to remove. So the old content and the new content are side by side in that first column. And then in the next column are included keywords before in that title that they had before, which included all of the information that you see in the image up above. They were pulling in about 752,000 in traffic every 6 months from that keyword set that they were using. Now, if you look at our after column over here on the right, our included keywords after, we can see that we have lost a little bit from the title because we had to truncate that title, but that we more than made up for that in our item highlights. So as we're going through the process of optimizing for title and item highlights, we should really be looking at this as an opportunity to gain more geo context volume, to gain more SEO targeted traffic by the way we include our search terms and our highlights in the item highlights area. So this is one example. And I did pull a number of examples for folks who had registered early for the webinar. So if you guys would like to, I can jump into some live examples inside the OptiPage platform and show you how we pull the data, how we optimize, what it looks like for some of the brands on the call. So if that sounds good, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, confirming everybody can see what I've got going on here. Yep. Okay, lovely. So in this case, Wells Lamont, hi, I hope you guys are on the call. This is, again, a live example. So fingers crossed it all goes well. This is a live page inside our OptiPage platform that shows an optimization in progress for this particular item. Now, when we do optimizations, we'll run the whole page. You can see our bullets down below. For right now, we're going to focus on our title and item highlights areas up above. So this is our existing content for this item that's live on Amazon today. Here is our edited title and item highlights based on where we found some opportunity to not only comply with the new specifications, but also gather some more organic traffic to this item. So here's our title. This is what we were able to fit. If we click on this, we can see that we are just coming in under our limit for space. So this is what we were able to provide. And in our original title, we saw about 4.2 million in traffic every 6 months. In our new one, we're seeing about 4.8. So just adding simple things, small things that we understand the search volume for, these exact match phrases that we're using. If we just make a tiny change like adding for men, we've added about 600,000 in traffic. So having the data behind this and being able to work through it live as you go through the optimizations is a real benefit to being able to work in a platform like this. If we look at this title, we tap on this one time, we can see all of the work that this particular title is doing in its revised form. So here are all of our AI context dimensions or geo dimensions up here. So leather work gloves, and for men. This is our used for audience. We are also seeing all of the keywords that we're using here. So our exact match search volume and our phrase match or mega volume on those. So small changes can make a huge difference. And in 75 characters, often we have to be very selective about what we're able to put in. And then in our item highlights down below, we've included some geo context, we've included some SEO as well, and added another 176,000 in traffic to this particular item. So I think with these 200 characters, the key, of course, is to be very thoughtful about what we put in to make sure that every single character we're using here is doing a job and is doing the work of pulling in the item context as well as the SEO. Now you can see that these two elements are super critical. Top of the page, it's the most important place for the most critical words that we're using, whether they are SEO or GEO. But of course, the rest of the page has a job to do as well. So this is an opportunity, I think, if you haven't updated your content recently, definitely an opportunity to update your title and item highlights, but also have a look at what could be done with the rest of the page to increase traffic on a particular item. I wanted to show too on this one for our GEO context. Um, in the platform, we have the ability to show you where you are coming in on excuse me, where you're coming in on your AI context dimensions. So these dimensions on the left are the dimensions for Amazon Cosmo AI. These are the 15 dimensions of sort of who, what, when, where, why, and how that Cosmo AI is looking for. This spec is almost exactly the same as ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity. So when we are doing an optimization and we're looking at those things that are going to really help us show up in Alexa for shopping, these are also the things that are going to help you show up in any AI shopping. So when we look through, we can see in black and white here what Wells Lamont has live in their context already, and then what they're missing. So this item is used with maybe hand tools, power tools, hammers, lawn equipment, tool belts, those kinds of things. And so we would come in, grab this, come back into our content and find a place for that in our description to further increase our geo personalization volume on this item. So one good example there. I do have some others. Let me pop through and we can do some editing on some of these too. So, and the thing I'll say about this one, this is, I ran Wells Lamont gloves on Amazon US. This one is for Canada. I saw we had some Amazon Canada folks from Nestle Canada come on. So I wanted to show this one as well. Same kind of thing. Our title here was very short. We definitely added to that and we're able to increase traffic here. Item highlights were, of course, not there, so we pulled the most critical search terms and contextual information into the item highlights, and we're really able to increase overall traffic on this particular item. Now, let's say we wanted to come in here and the brand is probably saying instant coffee whitener. Why on earth would we have that? Well, let's take a look at what the data shows us. Here it is, coffee whitener. Look at that mega volume. So the ways that we want to present our brand and the brand terms and words and brand book don't always 100% line up with the way people are searching and discovering or finding solutions via queries for us on these engines. So coffee whitener, big term. If you didn't want it in your item highlights because maybe it's just a little too far off brand, we could certainly push it down and grab some of this other data that we found and pull up into the item highlights to use this as an opportunity, of course, to increase traffic overall on these particular items. Let me do one more, and then I think we'll pop into some more deck and maybe take a few questions and allow Kevin to get a word
Yeah.
in edgewise
Yeah, I was
here.
going to say because we've got so many questions. I've been trying to answer a bunch of them, including like
Okay.
where Vendor Central is this and other stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that sounds like a good
Sounds good.
plan.
So we'll
Yeah.
just look at one more. So
Yeah.
when we have our sort of in the body, on the body categories, particularly when it comes to things like child and infant nutrition, we want to be very careful about what we put in here. So in this case, let me change my display to show our side-by-side red lines here. In this case, same thing. We are looking at our title here with our really rich, both SEO and geo. We are adding our item highlights. And in this case, we're able to almost double traffic on this by using our item highlights for good, both in terms of SEO and in terms of GEO. And all this, of course, is editable. We can come in if we don't want to say freeze pops, we could take that out. And we can see as we go through the process of editing these, if we don't want to say freeze pops because our brand book says we should say freezer pops, let's take a look and see what freeze pops is worth. Um, Sorry, I tapped too many times. So freeze pops again has a pretty decent volume, but if this wasn't something we wanted to add, we could pop it down into our bullets or elsewhere. So I'll drop the share for now and let Kevin take this back. But just for all of you who are here, I ran a whole lot of these prior, so we would have some good examples to share. I probably have examples run for your brand, and if not, I would be glad to do that. So you can send us a note after, and we'll provide examples for anyone and also commit to answering every single question that you all have put in the chat, either during this call or after as a quick follow.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, I know you've been scanning the chat, which is great because I've been looking more at the Q&A and trying to address there. We're gonna put a couple things on the screen, a little bit of data, because we have the question like, how might this change impact my KPIs? We talked a bit about SEO, geo, how you're going to show up on search, and we're getting questions of like, hey, I'm not seeing the item highlights here, or I'm seeing this on mobile, things like that. But what about ads? Skai has a really good line of sight into this with about $10 billion of spend flowing through our platform every year. A really good chunk of that is retail media. A good chunk of that is Amazon. So yes, there's going to be some impact there. We're seeing a lot of hypotheses. And so I'll start with this, then I'll go into some of the data that we looked at, give Amy a chance to maybe look at some of the Q&A, and then we can pontificate a bit, talk about future, get you guys out on time for your next meetings and to-do items. Really, there's a few themes I want to point out from the hypotheses that we're seeing in the market. The first is that there's going to be less volatility and a smaller level of shift when you have item highlights that are there. Because as Amy started, right, just like we're going from 200 characters to 200 characters. It's just different, right? So if you are not taking advantage of the item highlights or you're not following some of the opportunities that we're exposing here with optimizing, then yeah, you might actually see a lot of volatility, but it's not like a one-to-one. It depends how you use the item highlights. So that's going to affect any ads KPIs. Short title ASINs, like some products already have really short titles. So that's a really good control group. And so if you're trying to answer questions to other stakeholders, hey, what's the effect here, whether that's ads or otherwise, this is a really good control group for you to isolate. We're going to see some, varying degrees of volatility in this. Placement data is a good place to look, mobile versus desktop. Different ASINs are going to spike on different days depending on when the changes propagate, when they actually stick, and if anything is actually rolled back. Obviously, changes within keywords that you're targeting versus the search terms that you're showing up for, and then underlying relevancy. So we're keeping a close eye in terms of data on the auto targeting, where relevancy is very, very integral to the way that these algorithms work on where your ads are going to serve, versus the manual targeting, where you're going to have a different set of kind of requirements to be determined relevant, or CPC that could fluctuate based on how relevant you're determined to be. So a lot of this like is in progress, and candidly, like I wish I had every single historical changelog touch point of the headlines of the and the product titles and stuff. Some of that we don't see. Fortunately, a lot of it we do see. So what we did is we cut the data in a baseline period, knowing that Prime Day is going to add a lot of volatility on itself. We looked year over year, and we paid attention to a few where we do have the annotation of these content changeovers, knowing that not everybody has actually implemented these changes, as you guys kind of validated from the poll. And so we looked at a few dimensions, like did some of the main KPIs, like the click-through rate, which is obviously going to be affected if the thing that somebody sees in the search results or while they're browsing is different. Did the cost per click change, right, based on relevance? Did anything change in conversion rate if mobile is like a more optimal experience now? We also looked at volatility. So did things get noisier day to day or versus previous baselines or year over year? And so what showed up? And what we found is there is not a market-wide shift happening, but there's a lot of movement underneath. So looking at the cohorts, the CPC and CTR and conversion rate versus baseline, click-through rate is actually showing a little bit of that fluctuation more so. But we're seeing like a pretty like smooth chart here in terms of those shifts, not indicating that there's some type of market-wide change happening that we can see in the data yet. Volatility. CPC did get noisier. So we're looking at a CV here, essentially like a coefficient of the volatility. And we did see a little bit of that fluctuation there, whereas the median on click-through rate, that control metric got a little bit quieter. So in some cases, particularly where we have some annotation of like when the content changed, we actually have some multi-signal candidates. So what we're doing is coming out of this webinar and some follow-up is we're going to keep an eye on a few accounts where we can see that clear change, that volatility, and then multiple signals that there's some fluctuation in their performance on this. But ultimately, like, yeah, the jury is still deliberating right now because we're in the midst of this and people are rolling out these changes. So a little bit of what we want to do in the interim, is share a bit about UCP, the advertising, timelines, and I think Amy, just given like that we partner together and we look at how this affects organic and paid. I thought it'd be good as kind of like a little preamble on the data. Like, is there a smoking gun in the data? No. Are there some things that we're identifying? Yes. And are there some hypotheses that folks can run with on their own as they try to answer for this and explain this? Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about those things a little bit here. I think you've got a little bit of like timeline that might be helpful, and then kind of a segue into the UCP as well. So
Yeah, for sure. So I took this from Spencer Millerberg's LinkedIn. If you don't follow Spencer Millerberg or DetailPage on LinkedIn, please do because we'll have a lot more of these coming. I've seen some drafts, and we are definitely thinking that this has as much to do with structured content for search as it does for advertising. So earlier this year, we saw Google announce the Universal Commerce Protocol. Amazon quickly joined that. Google announced that it was open to placing ads in Gemini AI in April, which is definitely a signal. And then Amazon came in with the 75 character title changes as a fast follow. And this totally makes sense because, on top over there on the right is that original Jeff Bezos napkin drawing. And then down below is sort of the 2.0 and the way we see it, right? So Amazon is structuring content to allow and to enable AI to increase growth, to increase traffic, to serve more ads, to keep this original flywheel and growth model spinning. So we would say for sure that being in the best possible shape with these item titles and highlights gives that AI clean data that it's going to understand what to do with, so that you can put the right information, not just fill the blanks, but put the right information for both SEO and context in your content so that you are going to be able to be pulled up into those AI search results or those AI ad results. So we think that this is definitely a change that gets us in position, or gets you as brands in position to be successful in whatever's coming for AI search.
yeah. And I think, something similar is true on the ad side. The full kind of default to AI, running in your Google ads. That didn't happen on day one. It's been a progression of pushing advertisers towards more black box, more automation, more AI. And I think this is a step in that chain for Amazon ads, frankly, that they're already kind of on the content side saying, look, if you don't comply, we're just going to do it for you. That's like an important precedent to set and to get folks normalized to potentially something similar on the Amazon ad side. Um, I think more of that is to come. But yeah, in terms of how it's going to show up, looking at examples, we can't just think about Amazon. At Skai, that's like par for the course because we're commerce media, we're omni-channel. But I think for a very Amazon focused audience, which I know we have a lot of, Let's look at some other examples in Google, ChatGPT, and maybe tell us a little bit too, Amy, on like how you guys think about where this stuff shows up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this structured data is going to, I would say when you're doing your Amazon optimizations, definitely be thinking about this as a multi-retailer exercise, right? Because I think all of all of the big players where we are putting our content out to be discovered and searched, and also where we're advertising are lining up to the same data structure. So we have some bets going here internally as to whether or not after the 27th we see something change in ads. And Kevin, I'd be interested to know if you've heard any rumors or have any opinions on whether or not you think that those ad units are going to see a quick change after the 27th.
Well, we're all in the same boat,
We're waiting and seeing.
or governed by NDAs. So, will default us into some boats. But yeah, we're eagerly awaiting like a lot of folks in the audience.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. All right. I think we have some very practical questions in the Q&A. Been
Oh,
answering some of them, but I think what we'll do is kind of segue into the Q&A portion a bit.
okay.
Um, we can bring it back for some more kind of thoughts to round us out because we did cover a lot of ground, and hopefully we're getting to the meat of what y'all showed up for. But we'll start kind of going through and working on the Q&A. So first one
Yeah.
here. For products that have multiple variations, would you recommend having the size and pack count in the title or keep them in the item highlights? Yeah, we'll know
Yeah.
some
So
examples.
for us, when we optimize and pull data based on each child ASIN and its own features, attributes, benefits, competitive information, and competitors. So we would recommend in your title, there's likely not room. So in your item highlights, maybe you put your, 6 colors, 5 sizes, men's, women's, unisex, whatever in the bottom. I think the 75 character limit is really going to dictate a lot of that for us, but I think item highlights is probably where it'll land.
Yeah, that's a good call out. It depends, but assuming it's item highlights, that's kind of how I heard it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one here. I don't know if this is a lightning round, but due to time, we'll try to cycle through them. Um, This one says Amazon started a new rule last year that you can only use the same word 2 times in a title. Do we know if
Yeah.
that rule is going to be extrapolated to the item highlights field?
I haven't heard that one way or the other yet, but I would imagine that given the limited space we have and the amount of data that we have that shows us which words to use, duplicating a word in the title and the highlights may or may not be the right move in terms of gathering more organic traffic. So I would say look at the search volume data on that, make the decisions, and then if what you know the right thing is to do for your traffic discoverability is to try to repeat that, then repeat it. But for us, I don't know for sure actually about
Yeah,
whether or not they're going to limit that.
yeah. And it does, there's another question that we have that I answered, which was, if Amazon makes the changes, am I locked into that? Like, am I unable to change it?
Yeah,
And
definitely not. You can change it
right.
before, during, and after the
And
27th.
that's
I
that's
think,
that's why it came to mind for this one too, because you could actually try and then see if there's an impact there. So that's kind of I don't know, famous marketer
yeah,
answer. It depends. But I think
it
test and
does.
learn is
Yeah.
the other kind of famous one for Amazon that gets a little bit tropey, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Amazon has some great management experiments tools and some A/B testing, and
Yeah.
I would say use it. And if you don't have time to do updates before the 27th and get those live, then you'll be doing some testing whether you want to or not.
Yes,
So that data should be interesting. And Luke had a question too about have we found a way to update items in bulk? Yeah, absolutely. We can upload in bulk to Amazon Vendor Central when these are done for your titles and highlights.
for sure. Let's try to pick one real quick on like I think a few folks have mentioned this. Hey, I'm not seeing the item highlights live on the site. Would it show up after the 27th? Is it only in
Yeah.
certain places?
So
Yeah.
right now it's only on mobile and it depends on the mobile too. Like I don't have it on in my account on mobile, but other people inside Detail Page have had it pop up in their mobile. And I've seen some other examples out on LinkedIn and other places of people taking screenshots of what they see in mobile. So I think right
Mhm.
now they're doing some testing only on mobile so far. And then on the 27th, I think that's showtime.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and we're seeing a few folks kind of chimed in on that as well, but there was like a few in there. Quick, plug here while we're going to come back to and do a little bit more Q&A. But I did want to mention that we've got a Sky special. And so at least, hints folks before we're getting to that last, kind of 5 minute stretch here. Amy, do you want to share a little bit about what we have
Yeah.
for some folks? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So we want you guys to see some really good examples of what you can do with the title and item highlights specific to your key items and your brand. So I showed a few examples here for a couple of folks who are on the registration list. So hopefully you saw your own examples. But we ran a lot and we are happy to run some more to show you what that structure looks like. So if you would like to, please send me at sales@detailpage.com 2 or 3 ASINs that are important to you and let me know if you want to see just some title and highlight examples. If you want to see the full PDP, like I showed in the examples here, or some images examples or the works. I recommend the works. That's the one. But definitely send me a note. Let us know you were on the Skai webinar and send us 2 or 3 ASINs. And then we'll run data similar to what you've seen here and provide back some really good examples for you to emulate so that you can know what to do with your titles and highlights for your key ASINs.
Awesome. I love that we're able to do this. And I attribute it to me picking up your nachos and beverages and smoothies and stuff at the recent conference that we were at together, DSS. I just treated you so you're doing some nice
You
freebies
did.
for us.
I felt
Yeah.
like royalty. It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At
exactly.
the funded happy hour. So um,
Exactly.
please, folks, take advantage of that. It's very, very cool to see this in action. And of course, it hits much more home when it's your products and it's your deadline, as opposed to some of the theoreticals. Um, let's see on the the other questions that we have as I kind of swivel back to that. And if there's any that you see that like kind of really jump out that you want to hit, feel free to jump in.
Yeah,
But
let
I'm
me
going to
take a look. I will say too, we will get a copy of this chat and the Q&A, so we will answer all of these questions. So let's see. Um, so does this mean we need to update the titles in our Shopify and Walmart stores? Well, in Shopify and Walmart, here's the thing, right? Right now, although, well, 2 things. Shopify is one thing, Walmart's another. So let me take them separately. On Walmart, we have started to see recently rejections of longer titles. So we think Walmart is also in the process of pivoting some categories to a shorter title. So under 90 characters, between 75 and 90 is what we're seeing. Over 90 characters, some of those uploads that we've been doing recently have been rejected. So for Walmart, the I haven't seen any official policy or an update from them, but what we think is happening is that Walmart is also getting in line here with the short AI titles. So I would say, or the short structured titles. So I would say for Walmart, yes. For Shopify and other places, use the space while we have it, right? We have a longer title area. We have room on our Shopify sites for rich context, for lots of keyword data. And we do have a Shopify spec and, of course, Walmart spec inside OptiPage. So we can show you the same kind of treatments and data for that. The other thing that's really important on your Shopify site is a Q&A, making sure that you are putting a Q&A in for critical products on your D2C or brand stores so that when someone goes out to ask a question in ChatGPT or Perplexity or somewhere else, you have that question or something similar ready to go and ready to be scraped off your own site and answered appropriately. So for Shopify, let's use it to give the agentic scrapers everything that they're looking for. For other channels, I think we just have to comply with what we're given.
Yeah. And certainly, at least on the Walmart front, given that marketplace is more nascent than Amazon's marketplace, very supplier led, a lot of, shorter titles to begin with. And this is true for a lot of the, categories in which 1P has had like a bit of an advantage from a price perspective is just smaller titles tend to be more the norm, but certainly on Walmart that shows where you can kind of stick out like a sore thumb if you're stuffing a lot in those. So,
Yeah.
um,
I'll answer another quick one if we have time. I think we have time for maybe one more. Gary
yeah,
asked a question about, are the item highlights replacing the bullet points? Absolutely not. We still get all of our bullets. We get our hidden terms. If you have special features in your categories, we get to keep that as well. We get to keep our description. So the item highlights is just an additional field to replace the characters we're losing in our title, but everything else is still going to be there.
awesome. Awesome. Well, yeah, we have our follow-up work cut out for us with a lot of the
I'll
questions.
say. I
And
love
then
this. Yeah.
yeah, and some folks were they really want like answers like, hey, my specific scenario, like, oh, I don't have things variated on there, but I do have these colors. So some of those examples perfect for taking advantage
Yes.
of the freebies offer that Amy was so generous to plug. And I know even we had Dan out there. Shout out to Dan for answering some of them as well. There's an amazing team at Detail Page. We're so grateful for you guys to take the time to share, educate the audience, collaborate with us about how this is impacting, how this could impact, and just continue the awesome partnership. So this has been a lot of fun, and I hope that folks got the info that they were looking for and a little bit more and some added value. We certainly welcome the conversation onward, and again, encourage you to take advantage of this. You're going to learn something. You're going to get some value. So please take advantage of that and reach out and let us know as well if you're going to be using the experiments feature in Skai or tagging anything with dimensions and categories. Would love to chat with you a little bit more and, of course, share the findings as we get more of the data. So that's kind of our home stretch. Amy, this was awesome. Any kind of parting thoughts, words, and anything to share as we kind of hit home stretch?
Thank you so much for giving us so much of the time and for the great engagement and questions today.
Yeah, absolutely. And likewise, additional resources on our website and also on detailpage.com. Please check those out. And again, stay tuned as we bake more of the insights from this. Good luck as you embark on this title change and have a great week. Thank you.